We're going to do the euro, the Aussie dollar too. If you look at the pound dollar, we're supposed to be short from 158.86. As you can recall, when we were analyzing the dollar in the previous pairs, that we had this kind of a sell-off that came in on Friday, and this is the chart for the dollar, the pound dollar. It traded, we had this selling point, which is the 158.75, and you want to, guys, be putting these lines on your chart so that you can, these lines are very important because they tell you immediately your bias. When you put a line like this, above it you want to buy, below it you want to sell, so your decision making process is instantaneous. So right there, it is a significant point, it is not a structural point. Now we have a failure to make a high. We have another failure to make a high, and there is the structure, the last structural point, which we broke below it. So below this point here, which is the 159.12, the trend is still now to the downside, and my bias is still short the pound dollar, but we're sitting at this significant point, which is the 158.75. So what we have here is this kind of the knee jerk that happened on Friday by the end of the session, and it's clearer when you look at the intraday chart. The image becomes pretty much clearer. I know it's a little bit noisy, but this is, when you step back, this is the trend. The pound has been declining all the way down. You had this bounce up, and we're still down. I mean, it didn't give me a buy signal, it didn't give me a structural point. Even you can argue that the 158.93 could have been here a structural point to the upside. It went above it to the 159.01, and then it came back and it sold off. This shows you how weak the pound is. So with that, our bias is still to the downside, but we will buy it if it gets above the 159, because that will be an interim structural failure to the upside. And if we buy it right there, we're going to place our stop here below the 159.75. So you're risking about 15 pips on that trade on the long side, and your structural long point is going to be the granddaddy of all, which is the 159.80. And on the short side, we're going to go short when it trades below the 158, the 158.75. So we're pretty close to our short entry. So for the pound dollar, what we're going to do, we're going to buy above the 159. That is the buy here, and our stop is going to be below 158.75 there, and my structural long point is going to be the 159.80, which is it doesn't change. The structure point doesn't change from last week with 159.80. On the short side, we're going to go short below that significant point, which is the 158.75, which is our structural short point, and it is going to be our stop. So for the pound dollar, we are going to buy above 159.01, and if we do, we have a structural point at 159.80, so at least you can have a potential of an 80 pip move to the upside, and your stop is going to be the 158.75. On the short side, you're going to go short below the structure point, which is the 158.75. That's going to be your short entry, your structure short, and your short stop. And this is the pound dollar right there. Okay, so let me say